the video cut out. It says right here, in verse 7, Psalm 44 and 7, it says, "But thou hast saved us from our enemies, and hast put them to shame that hated us. In the Most High we boast all the day long, and praise thy name forever, Selah." Okay, so the elect are the ones who are going to boast all the day long and glorify Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai and praise the names of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai forever. Okay, it's you're calling on different names. You're not glorifying the Most High. You're not glorifying His Son. You're not boasting about the true powers and the true powers of Israel, of you Israelites. You can't call on false names, false idols. That's not you're not glorifying the Heavenly Father and the Son. Simple as that. Verse 9, it says, "But thou hast cast off and put us to shame, and goest not forth with our enemies." Okay, so that's it. You're putting yourself to shame by calling on false names, by believing in false doctrines. The philosophies that you believe in are they're not sound. They're not sound doctrine. So you got to be taught by the true prophets, by the true teachers, the sound doctrine. Otherwise, you're going to be caught up in that strong delusion. Believing and worshiping gods and idols that your forefathers never knew. The elect are coming into the Holy Spirit, which is the Spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, and we glorifying Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai in knowledge and understanding and wisdom, the true wisdom. Okay, it includes glorifying and calling on the true names. Okay, it says, "Thou makest us to turn back from the enemy, and they which hate us spoil for themselves." Okay, and this is part of the punishment. Right now, like I say, the heathen have been ruling over us for a long time. All right, for centuries we've been under the heathen. But now you have to understand, we're in the last days. We're in the last age of the heathen, and so we're in a transition period. That's why you see a Babylon America getting weaker and weaker by the day. Okay, that's why you see them getting desperate. They're going to get desperate to where they have to change their monetary system, their financial system. You see, but we know that our kingdom is nigh. All right, our kingdom is near. All right, it says here, "Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for meat, and hast scattered us among the heathen." All right, so the sheep appointed for meat, meaning sheep set up for the slaughter. That's kind of why I put this lamb here in this picture, because we're likened unto the sheep, the Israelites. Sheeps are docile animals, vulnerable animals, and that's our people. We don't have any strength to deliver ourselves. The only strength that we have is our faith in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Okay, and that's what's going to be needed in these times that we're entering into, these times that are upon us, where we're going to be dealing with Jacob's trouble. You're going to have a time where you're going to have a lack of bread, a lack of provisions, a lack of things to sustain you, especially once they mandate that MOTB, right? The RFID CHIP. You see, when they mandate that thing, the elect are not going to take that wicked device. So there's going to be challenges that we face in the times coming. You might miss a few meals, but we also know Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai That he says, my servant shall eat, my servant shall not be thirsty. And that's the type of faith the elect have. If you're a member of the elect, you believe that wholeheartedly, that you're not going to have to rely on a device to feed your family. You see, it says here, verse 12, thou sellest thy people for naught, and dost not increase thy wealth by their price. Okay, and we've been sold as slaves to these heathen throughout generations. Okay, they still own us. If you have a social security number, that means you're a slave. You're owned by the wicked elite. You see. If you have a birth certificate, the birth certificate is a document of slavery. Okay. Verse 44 and 13, Psalm, thou makest a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. Okay. And that's how these heathen look at us, shamefully. That's why they make movies where they mock us going into their stores to buy shit. You think about that. You think about that movie, Don't Be a Menace. You remember when they walked into the little convenience store, and with the door, it goes, niggas, and they walked in. And then you had the Moabite lady. She was everywhere in the store talking about, hurry up and buy. Hurry up and buy. Why? Because these heathen, they don't trust you. They look at you like, like shamefully, It says, thou makest a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. Yeah, they wag their heads, they shake their heads when they see the Israelites. They go, oh shit, some more niggas. Oh shit, some more, some more wetbacks, some more, you see the mockery. Oh, these fools, these brown fools, these fucking, the heathen look down upon you, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, whether you rather admit it or not. I mean, in the spirit, they can sense that we're superior to them, but with their wicked spirits, they also just look at us like they hate us. Okay? Don't get it twisted. These heathen do not like you Israelites. All right? They tolerate you if they have to, but they don't like you. My confusion is continually before me, and the shame of my face hath covered me. For the voice of him that reproacheth and blasphemeth by reason of the enemy and avenger. Okay? All this is come upon us, yet we have not forgotten thee, neither have we dealt falsely in thy covenant. Okay? And that applies for the elect. The elect have not forgotten Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, because the 2/3, they've been given away to the idols of the heathen. They've been given away to the ways of the heathen. They believe the system of the so-called white man. That's why you're going to have 2/3 of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. 2/3 of you are going to take the wicked device and going to be destroyed right along with the heathen. Okay? Because why? Because you have forgotten Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. You're over here calling on God and Cracker Jesus. You've forgotten your true power. You haven't come into remembrance, even though the prophets are on the street corners telling you the truth. You look at us like we're demons. You look at us like we're evil men, right? It says, our heart is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from thy way. And that, that's our people. Their heart is not turned back, meaning their mind. Their mind is not in the right mindset. They're not in the right headspace. Our people sitting here doing heathen shit, stuck in the ways of the heathen. And then they see the true prophets on the scene, and they mock us, they hate us, they don't believe us, right? But at the end of the day, they're mocking Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. They hate Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Okay, because it's not us that they hate, it's Yahweh Bashem Yahushai that they hate. Because we're not using our own words, we're using the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Okay, this is not our doctrine. Okay, this is the doctrine of the Most High Yahweh. Okay, it says, "Thou hast sore broken us in the place of dragons, and covered us with the shadow of death. If we have forgotten the name of our power, or stretched out our hands to a strange God." And that's what our people have done. The majority of the Israelites have forgotten the name of the Most High, which is Yahweh. And they've forgotten the name of His Son, which is Yahweh Shai. The true prophets have been set up to give you those mysteries, those names, because those are the mysteries to the world. Okay? You got to know the history to know the mystery. You got to be a true prophet to be given the mysteries, right? Amos 3 and 7, we quote it all the time, you know? He gives His mysteries to His servants, His prophets. His secrets are given unto His servants, His prophets. You Israelites, you 2/3, you're stretching your hands out to a strange God. You're stretching out your hands to gods that your forefathers never worshipped, that never knew. Right? Shall not the Most High search this out? For He knoweth the secrets of the heart. He knows your mind. He knows how you think. He knows if you believe or not, you know. Again, the prophets have been set up. We're giving you the truth, whether you hear it or forbear it, whether you believe it or reject it, you're going to get the truth. That's the mercy of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. He set up His true prophets, His true pastors, right? And that's mercy on the elect, because the elect are going to hear the true message, the true doctrine, and they're going to have a change of heart, meaning a change of mind. Right? Heart and mind is synonymous, one and as the same. Right? It says, "Yeah, for thy sake we are killed all the day long, we are counted as sheep for the slaughter." Again, our people are killed all the day long. Where you see the Roman soldiers, they killing the men on the streets, they killing the women on the street, they kill you see the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans getting killed by these Edomites. I'll say the Edomites, all right, because you Edomites, you have it out for us in your spirit. You have always hated us, a perpetual hatred you've had against the Israelites. Tells you about that in Ezekiel 35 and 5. That perpetual hatred. Let me grab that real quick. And perpetual means ongoing, never stopping. You've always hated. You're in the spirit. These Edomites, they don't like you Israelites, man. And those of you Israelites who actually fall for that shit, that the Edomite cares about you, then you're so far gone that you're going to be destroyed right along with your master. Okay, it says Ezekiel 35 and 5. And remember, this goes back to Cain and Abel, which Cain was the spirit of Esau and Abel was the spirit of Jacob. Okay, so Ezekiel 35 and 5, it says, "Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred," talking about you Edomites, "and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the Most High, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee." Okay? So there's going to be a payback. And you're looking at part of the payback in this picture, in this image. Those chariots. Those chariots are going to shed blood when they come back. Yahweh Shai, He tells you in Matthew 10 and 34 that He's coming back to make. He's bringing the sword. He's bringing war, not peace. Okay, and like I said earlier, we're going to be delivered. By Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and the chariots are gonna like I say, they're going to gather the elect. But 2/3 of our people are not the elect. They're going to be destroyed with the heathen. Okay? So let's go back to Psalm 44 and see. Let's see. It says in 44 and 22 or 23, it says, "Awake, why sleepest thou, O Yahweh Bashem Yahushai? Arise, cast us not off forever." All right? And that's a prayer. That's a supplication. You know, that's King David begging for Yahweh to basically to deliver us, to get us away from the heathen. That's what the word salvation means. It means to being delivered from the molestation of your enemies. When you look into that word, that's what it means. Okay? So how can everybody receive salvation if it's dealing with being delivered from your enemies, from the molestation of your enemies? You know, you got to know your words, and that's where GMS is cut from a different cloth, because we go into the words. Okay? We don't just look at these scriptures at face value. We get deeper. All right? Psalm 44 and 24, it says, "Wherefore hidest thou thy face, and forgettest our affliction and our oppression? For our soul is bowed down to the dust, our belly cleaveth unto the earth. Arise for our help, and redeem us for thy mercy's sake." Okay? And this is a prayer and a supplication of an elect man. Okay? Because if you're in a false doctrine, you're going to be saying a whole different prayer. And you're going to be praying to a whole different God, which is not a God, which is made up, a man-made God. You're going to be praying for America to be healed to you, and you're going to be saying that prayer to a false idol, a white cracker God and a white cracker Jesus, which that prayer don't mean nothing. The prayer is in vain. You know, it's useless. But the elect we're praying for the mercy of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to arise up and help us, and to give us salvation, and to get us away from the molestation of our enemies. Okay? So you better, you know, if you don't understand this, then you're going to be caught up in a strong delusion, you know, and it's going to be seared in your brain like a hot iron, where you're calling on something that doesn't even exist, doesn't even matter, was created by men. While the elect, we're praying to the true powers of Israel, which is Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. We're praying for deliverance. We're not praying for Babylon to be healed. We're not praying for peace on earth, you know. Why would we want to pray for peace on earth when this place is our captivity? This place is our hell. You see? We want the true peace on earth isn't going to come until the true people are set up back into power, which are you Israelites, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans are the true, powers of the earth. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and close out on that. I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge Al Akyam, who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And shalom to the elect. Shalom.